This is my flow monitor and control that you can see sits on top of a regular, this is a Rainbird irrigation controller in my home. And this box does not modify the Rainbird, it simply looks at the outputs. And it also has the ability to disconnect the common lead that goes out to the solenoids that are on the zone valves. So when I first power up, I'm just plugging it in, and you can see it says flow monitor and control. And at the moment it says no zone on, D, left bracket, and there's a number counting down, and underneath it says no data yet. So what you see is that at this moment there are no zones on. The D stands for day. It's N at night, and that's important because I generate audible alarms, and if the alarm is not urgent, I don't want it waking me up at night. So it'll just wait until dawn before it sounds those alarms. But if it's an emergency, in particular if there's a breach in the pipe that cannot be shut off by the control part of the flow monitor and control, then it sends a major alarm. The countdown is more of a sanity check. It's telling me how long before there's going to be an update. It takes 60 seconds of flow data before it declares the flow per minute. And then, okay, so now it's gone through one cycle, and you see that it's reading 0.00 gallons per minute, and it says reference dash. The dash means that this is the first time it's run, and so it doesn't know what is valid data. So the first time it runs through a zone, and then it leaves that zone, or in this case no zone at all, it will assume that that previous run is not faulted. So in a minute I will start up a zone 1, and then when I come back here you'll see that the reference has been filled in with 0. So I'm going to the irrigation controller, and I'm going to run it on zone 1. And you can see that on zone 1 it's the same thing, no data yet, it's daytime. Now that left bracket, it changes from a left bracket to a box each time the flow monitor detects that there has been a certain amount of water passed through zone 1. That amount is approximately 4.6 ounces, and zone 1 is xeriscape, so I don't use much water, so you're not going to see that left bracket turn to a box very often. But you can see that the countdown is progressing, and when it reaches 0, I'll have my first reading of how much water I'm using in my xeriscape zone 1. So we're almost there. Okay, so now it's reading 0.11 gallons per minute. Again, this is the first time it's run, so I don't have a reference. Now, I do have 4 emitters in that zone. Each one is 2 gallons per minute. So 2 gallons per minute is equal to 0.03 repeating gallons. 2 gallons per hour is 0.03 repeating gallons per minute. And I have 4 of them. So ideally, if everything was running exactly the way the manufacturer says, and I have my calibration correctly, I would be reading 0.12 gallons per minute, because that's 4 times 0.03. But it's very close. So now I'm going to, well, I'm just about done with the next reading. Let's see if it updates to anything else. No. So I'm going to cancel out of zone 1. And now I'm going to go back to zone 1 so that you can see that that value is, there we go, that value that I read becomes the historical reference. Now, if the measured value is more than approximately 25% more than the measured value, I'm going to declare an overflow situation, and if it's less than, if it's 75% of the nominal, the reference value, then I'm going to declare underflow. So if it's overflow, I'm going to attempt to turn off that valve and alarm. If it's underflow, I don't turn it off because that would just make things worse, but I alarm. And as I mentioned before, if it's during the day, I'll alarm audibly. If it's at night and I was able to shut it off, then it'll alarm during the day. If I can't shut it off, then it'll alarm right away. And in the documentation that I'm preparing, all those different scenarios are shown. Okay, so here you see now have 0.11 gallons per minute actually being measured, and my reference is the same. So everything is fine here. Now I'm going to cancel zone 1, and I'm back to no zone on. And if we waited long enough, you would see that it has a reference of 0. So this is the demonstration of the flow monitor and control when there aren't any problems with the system.